In the penthouse window, Elena Voss stood barefoot among stacks of unopened envelopes, her reflection fractured in the glass. Below, Wall Street hummed in cold indifference, neon slicing through the fog like scalpels. The numbers on her last statement blinked on her phone, -5 million. It wasn't just a loss. It was an obituary written in digits. Her name, once synonymous with precision and power, now trailed in whispers across trading floors. The woman who didn't see it coming. The silence inside the apartment felt surgical. No music, no air conditioning. Just the sound of her own pulse and the faint hum of a fridge that still held the champagne they'd never opened. The one he said they'd save for their wedding night. He was gone. The money was gone. And every lawyer she called that morning began their sentences the same way. "You might want to sit down, Ms. Voss." 6 months earlier, she had been the kind of woman New York built monuments for. CFO of a rising fintech empire. 40 under 40. Dresses tailored like decisions. Sharp, deliberate, never sentimental. Her mind was an instrument of profit, her reputation a fortress of logic. When she spoke, analysts listened. When she moved, markets shifted. And then came Daniel Kade. He didn't enter her life. He infiltrated it. Smooth, attentive, but with the kind of intelligence that looked effortless. He'd been introduced through a mutual investor. A venture strategist, they said. Someone who sees opportunities others don't. Elena saw through most men within minutes. But Daniel had a silence that drew her in. He spoke less, listened more, and understood the architecture of power like it was art. He promised her partnership, not just in business, but in life. They called it the merger, half-jokingly. The night they signed their first joint venture. She smiled when he used her pen. It felt symbolic, like trust taking a physical form. By spring, their companies were intertwined. By summer, their accounts were. Every contract carried both their initials, EV and DK, embossed in gold. Like an omen she mistook for elegance. The first fracture appeared on a Friday night in July. A decimal point misplaced. A wire delay. Nothing alarming, just a ghost number that wouldn't reconcile. Her assistant mentioned it. Daniel brushed it off. Just a liquidity rotation, love. It'll post Monday. It didn't. By Tuesday, 3 more accounts had shifted, small amounts, massed under consultancy, expenses and digital transfers, routed through offshore intermediaries. When she asked about them, he kissed her temple and said, "You analyze numbers. I analyze people. Let me handle this one." The words should have been comforting. They weren't. Still, she silenced her instinct. Love, she told herself, wasn't a balance sheet. The following month, they were photographed leaving. A gala at the Met, she in a black gown that shimmered like oil under the flash. He in a tux that made him look born into old money. The tabloids called them Wall Street's power couple. Behind closed doors, she had begun tracking transaction IDs instead of headlines. Her screen stayed open at midnight, the spreadsheets running beside text messages. She never sent. She noticed the pattern first. Every withdrawal was executed seconds after a private message. Each linked to a ghost company with no public record. Waverly Group, Northlight Holdings, Coral 9, shells, all of them, elegant, invisible. When she confronted him, he didn't flinch. He simply smiled. "You think too small, Elena. You see theft. I see leverage." That night, she realized the game wasn't love. It was liquidity. 2 weeks later, her office security badge failed. The company's server passwords had been changed, and her board meeting was held without her. By the time she reached her building, a new CFO had already been installed, a man Daniel recommended months before. He hadn't stolen her money. He'd stolen her credibility. Her lawyers warned her to keep quiet to protect reputation salvage value. The phrase made her laugh, as if reputation could be salvaged once trust was burned to ash. At home, Daniel's suits were gone, his phone disconnected, his accounts wiped. She replayed every dinner, every late-night conversation, his questions about her firm's risk structure, his fascination with her audit system, his insistence on signing documents to share accountability. He hadn't seduced her. He'd studied her. That night, she printed every document she could recover, bank statements, contracts, chat logs. The paper felt warm from the printer, like it still carried traces of heat from the machine. She pinned them to her wall, the way detectives pin suspects. a constellation of loss. In the center, a photo. The two of them in Central Park, laughing beneath autumn light. He'd said, "When we make our first 100 million, I'll buy you this view forever." Now she understood the subtext. He'd never promised forever. He'd promised control, disguised as affection. By the third week, she stopped sleeping. Her breath came in shallow calculations. 5 million, 13 shell companies, one name she couldn't trace, Oren Vale. Her search led her to a law firm in Midtown. The receptionist recognized the name, then hesitated. "I'm sorry, that entity was dissolved last week." Elena's voice didn't tremble when she said, "Then find me the ashes." By September, she tracked Oren Vale to Zurich. There, a lawyer handed her Daniel's final note, a confession disguised as philosophy. "You wanted truth, Elena. The numbers never lie. Only people do. Every transfer you traced, every shell you uncovered, was built with your knowledge. You just didn't see it. Now you owe what we both earned. Half of everything, remember, forever." The lawyer said quietly, "His debts were under both your signatures. You are the surviving guarantor." She didn't argue. She didn't even breathe. He hadn't taken her wealth. He'd turned her name into collateral. On the flight back to New York, her reflection drifted over the clouds like a ghost. She replayed his last words. "You believe control is a kind of love." Now she understood. He was describing her weakness. Back home, her firm erased her name. Her penthouse went under foreclosure. She sold everything. Furniture, jewelry, even the gold pen that sealed their fate. Yet something analytical remained. She mapped every betrayal into data, concluding, greed is never about money. It's about proof that one person's faith can be weaponized against them. Months later, she vanished from public life. Her story became rumor, the prodigy undone by love. But the truth was colder. She wasn't destroyed by deception. She was destroyed by belief that intellect could guard the heart. A year later, an article appeared in a financial ethics journal. The Emotional Leverage Index, author E.V. Analytical, haunted, beautiful. Readers said it felt written by someone who learned that data could bleed. And somewhere in New York, a single apartment light still flickers at midnight. A reminder that even when wealth vanishes, memory still accrues interest. If the weight of this story resonated, subscribe to Betrayal Billions to never miss the next chapter of psychological drama.